Imagine you're a pre-K to 8 head of school. You're supposed to be the beacon of wisdom, guiding young minds and inspiring your faculty, while also worrying about whether there's enough coffee or toilet paper to prevent a coup. 1 minute you're solving the mystery of the missing lunchbox. Spoiler alert, it was in the cubby the whole time. And the next, you're spearheading a transformative educational initiative. My walk with Rose Helm, head of school at the John Thomas Dye School in Los Angeles, California, personifies such pre-K to 8 school leadership. You're constantly out of breath, literally and metaphorically, juggling responsibilities for which you were never trained and jumping around various issues. You're expected to have a solution to every problem, even the ones you didn't know existed until they showed up, uninvited, like distant relatives at Thanksgiving. When you stop long enough to realize that you aren't out of breath, you worry you aren't working hard enough, or must be forgetting something. There's a sense of urgency in school leadership. If we aren't doing all that we can, we're letting someone down. A child only gets 9 to 10 months to be a third grader, so time is of the essence. It's all in a day's work, for which we as heads of school are probably already 5 minutes late. This walk was no exception. Rose texted moments before we were supposed to meet. Are we walking in exercise gear, or was the walk more metaphorical? No metaphor here. She showed up with the energy to tackle a 10K and the breathless, infectious laugh that makes her the perfect workout buddy. I know before we begin, Rose is going to push me.
Somebody told me in one of my walks that the feeling of not enough is because we're letting our ego get in the way.
Oh, interesting.
And if ego is the enemy, and if he's going to talk about that, couldn't we solve our own not enough crisis by not thinking so much of who we are and how we're doing?
Thank you. I mean, this is like, the whole reason I go to therapy is everyone's counting on me. It's like I ride in the front row of Soul Cycle, not because I'm the youngest or fastest out there, but I'm like, everyone needs me to keep the beat. Talk about an ego.
Her tongue-in-cheek humor speaks to the truth. Rose is a born leader, destined to be a CEO or a princess since she was a young girl. Now, as an adult, Rose has a bias toward action. Add to that, Rose is a galvanizer. She can motivate people to get behind an idea with her unbridled enthusiasm. She has the animated arm movement of a conductor, increasing the tempo while supporting you to rise to the expectation she has for you. She sees your potential and knows how to hit the gas pedal. She is a powerhouse whose energy is palpable.
I actually feel like I got it right now. I'm in a good space, probably because I'm using my working genius, galvanizing, all of that, because I'm getting people excited about this next phase for the school. But how do we do all the things that we have to do, we want to do, and make it seem like it's effortless, And yet we also have to be vulnerable. I mean, it's so many both ands.
That's the real kicker, right? Leadership is about balance. Be strong, but be vulnerable. Be the team leader, but also be the coach. You need to know when to take center stage and when to let others take the spotlight. While you're at it, you're working with children, so find joy in the chaos. Sometimes the best leadership move is to step back and let others have the limelight while you watch from the front row.
I think about this a lot, is that, as heads, we carry a burden, of course. We also get to have the spotlight shined on us, and, I don't know one of us who doesn't love that a little bit, But I'm trying to learn to give that space and those opportunities to members of my administrative team or to other people. So, for example, historically I write a weekly blog as part of our school newsletter. It is a slog to come up with something new to say every week. And it's only me, right? It's only as if I'm the only person to have an original thought about children,
right?
Or, something happening at the school. And so I started sharing that with my leadership team. And not only has it helped me out, but it's helped them take more of a front seat and to be a spotlight and, to be a thought leader. And I think then that empowerment leads to more agency, which then leads to more willingness to take things on, right? Because there's more confidence.
It requires you to not be impromptu also.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the reason we do it is it's easier to just do it ourselves than to make sure someone's doing it the way you want it to be done.
Yes.
And
sister.
That's not good for anyone.
No, it's not.
You especially.
Right.
I have to attribute that last sentence to us both, because our words are so intertwined. We finish each other's sentences. We had clearly both walked that tightrope. The duality of leadership is what makes it both challenging and rewarding. It's a constant dance between ego and humility, between action and reflection, and between being the hero and acknowledging that sometimes you're the villain in someone else's story. But that's okay. Leadership isn't about being perfect. It's about being present, learning from your mistakes, and most importantly, not taking yourself too seriously. After all, if you can't laugh at the absurdity of it all, someone else will. I don't know if Rose would agree, but I learned humility from two very gifted masters. My daughters. They remind me every day not to take myself too seriously. No one is better at laughing at my errors than my girls. I'm grateful. Not all the time, but in due time, I'm grateful. Like leadership, motherhood is not about being perfect. I'll speak for Rose when I say we are not perfect mothers. Our flaws and challenges might just make us good mothers and better leaders, however. Take, for instance, the empathy we both have for mothers sitting in front of us after receiving a diagnosis of a medical condition or a learning difference.
You know, when you think about your kid being sick, you want to actually have a diagnosis. No one wants to know it's a virus. You want to know it's like, this is an ear infection because I can take antibiotics, you know? It's so hard when you get that information and you're not sure what the right answer is for support.
We have both been there. There is no right answer, no silver bullet. It's a journey. Maybe I should say a process, much like grief. As a parent, we have to give ourselves the grace to go through all the stages when we find out something is wrong, for which antibiotics can't cure. For Rose and me, as goal-oriented, Princeton-educated heads of school, one of those stages was to become an expert and an advocate. In absence of answers, our inclination was to learn. Though the diagnoses our daughters faced are different, the impact is the same. Ego pushes in and asks, how did I not see this coming? What did I miss? How will I fix it?
These parents are they're not educators. I mean, I had the benefit of, getting this information about my child and already knowing something about it. But a lot of people don't, and it's scary, right? This image of what you think your kid is going to be is all of a sudden completely upended. And I think when we see parents who are manifesting crazy, I like to say it's actually rooted in fear, which is actually rooted in love.
Yes.
And if we can meet them in the love place,
Yes.
we can bring the crazy level down.
Do you know, in my last year of school, I bought a stack of cards that said, just wanted to be the one to tell you you're a really good mom.
I love that.
I sent them to people who might otherwise have really been coming at me, as we say as heads of school. Yeah, and it wasn't a Jedi mind trick.
No.
It was my shifting my focus to, okay, this person has something going on, and that's why it's coming out this way.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. I think, I always say get curious, not furious.
Yes.
Can we try to get to the why or the what is? What are you worried about? What are you fearing? And then we can hopefully reassure them, like, we've got you. We've got your child.
Yeah.
But it's so terrifying to be a parent. It's still, you're figuring it out.
Knowing ourselves better as mothers for having walked that path makes us better leaders, especially in the pre-K to 8 arena, for this is the time when most diagnoses occur. It is in the confines of our offices that parents have to come to terms with a future different than the one they imagined for a child. We know personally what care and support is necessary to show up in the love place, no matter how the parent might show up in the office. We had to acknowledge we could not be all things to our daughters. We admit we didn't want to be.
I have no part of my identity caught up in being the chief grocery shopper.
Still, Rose and I both share the mom guilt of showing up for all of the children in our school, sometimes at the expense of our own daughters.
I'm also the less present one, and I grapple with that all the time. And think about, these 336 students, they get so much of my attention, and I have one child who's in 9th grade now. So I have this pre-empty nesting, like these years before she's gonna leave. I'm like trying to figure all these things out. And so this year, it's such a small thing, but I'm gonna drive her to the bus once a week, which means I'm gonna miss the morning assembly that I lead every day once a week. And someone from my team is gonna take that on a regular day and put my child first.
In the car, Rose and her daughter talk. So do Ella and I. Some of our best conversations happen in the car. I think it's like walking. Maybe when we both focus in the same forward direction and not look at one another, we can find a more honest connection.
When we drive, the 15 minutes to the bus stop, she's playing the latest song for me and talking about whatever. And she gets out and she's like, thanks for driving me. And it's just that small thing.
It's no small thing. I can tell by the genuine smile that comes across her face. That 15-minute ride to the bus is everything. Even beats the front row ride at SoulCycle.
Thanks for walking with Rose Helm. To hear and read more from Liz Hoffreiter and her Walk With Me project, or to hear from other heads of school in the Meet Me on the Playground subseries, head to hoffreiter.com. That's HOFREUTER.com to browse all 50 walks today. Thanks again, and keep walking.